best thing to do is be prepared for problems. Always be prepared for problems. And it seems if you do that, that seems to eliminate the problems. Now that much, this may be maybe a psychosis that I've got in my mentality, but it seems to work that way. You know, they talk about the power of positive thinking, but I have never been able to prove that there's being anything to it more than just imagination. Of course, if you're talking about faith, then faith is an altogether different thing that always works. But positive thinking is not all it's cracked up to be, and we prove that time after time when we try to think positively and then things go wrong. So today we are going to demonstrate the process of digging and washing clay, which takes a lot of backbone and a lot of elbow grease to go with it. And what we're going to do to start out is we're going to siphon the water out of this cavity right here, so that we won't have to stand in the water to dig the clay. And I should have brought a board to stand on, but I didn't, so I'm just going to have to siphon the water out. So first I'll prime the hose like this. This would be called priming the hose. And the hose runs down the gully down to a place lower than this mud hole. So if the hose primed, which I don't think it did, should have thought positively. If the hose primed, I will begin to see the water level going down. Watching the water level on the sides of the pit. The water level is not going down, so I'm going to have to try to prime the hose again. This might help somebody to understand how to get water out of a clay pit, if they ever need to do that. And it will work if the hose primes, and if the far end is at a lower level than the upper end. This time, looks like that the hose did prime, and so the water is running through the hose and draining out down below. In just a few seconds, couple of minutes, we'll have the water out. We can start digging clay. The water is very rapidly being drawn out of the pit. Almost out. I put the clay into these Walmart bags. In this case, it's may or may not be a Walmart bag. This is Walmart. The Walmart bags can be used for other purposes besides carrying the goods out of Walmart stores. Okay, that's all we're going to put in that bag. There's a rock. Not as big as you feel. What we're going to do now is transport the clay by hand up to the transportation vehicle, which in this case is a Craftsman lawnmower and a homemade trailer. We're going to hope there's not no rattlesnakes or nothing up through here. If I see them, I'll promise I'll tell you as quick as possible, and we will make arrangements to bypass him. I've been up and down through here about a dozen times already this morning, so if he's here, he's probably migrated. Because they tell you that they do try to stay out of the way of human traffic. Deposit this 80%. Then I'm going to run and get back and get the shovel, and we're going to go right over here. Okay, now we'll go right across from here. There's a little bit of poison oak. Right here. There's a little bit in there. Right there. If you what you need to do when you get home, when you get ready to take your shoes off, if you've got a pair of rubber gloves or anything like that while you take your shoes off, or either if you don't use gloves, you'll wash your hands just as quick as you take your shoes off. Because if any of that fiber rubbed off of them leaves on your shoestrings, then when you untie your shoestrings in a couple of days, you're going to have poison oak breaking out on your fingers, and you're going to say, where did I get into that? Or how did I get that? And another thing, your pants, you want to be careful about handling them too. Like I say, if you want to wear a pair of gloves. Trailer. Okay, now I'm going to crank the lawnmower and drive up to the shop and unload this clay into a container that I use to put the clay in, and then I shovel it out of that into the slip mixer. So if you want to just follow me. All right, old country potters, they always used stuff instead of going to the ceramic supply store. They used stuff that they had laying around that could be modified or whatever, made to serve the same purpose. Instead of buying that stuff from the ceramic supply store, they didn't have money to buy it with anyway. So they had to come up with just whatever they had laying around. They used that to process clay. So this right here is the top of an old doghouse. The dog used to live in there. And he passed on, so now we use the top of this doghouse. Put the clay in. We'll do that right now. We have just dug this clay and hauled it out on the lawnmower in the trailer. By the way, it's a homemade trailer. And so now we'll unload the clay into the roof of the doghouse. And things like that below. Then we will demonstrate the clay washing process. As we have already said, is a lost art, I reckon. Even though I didn't originate the idea, did develop my own system that I use to wash clay. There's this clay washing machine that I call it. Never heard anybody else call one that, but that's what I call that. Got the 30-gallon metal drum from Bobby Ferguson, potter that I used to work for back in the early 90s. And it serves a purpose. I don't know where you could go to buy something like it. they have what they call a slip mixer, which is used by people that pour ceramic molds. I guess you could buy one of them somewhere, and it's basically the same thing as this. It mixes the clay into a thin slip, and then it goes on through the rest of the process. Now the clay has already got a lot of bacteria in there. Some of the clay is a bluish looking color. That's because it's infected with bacteria. It has a bluish looking tint. And that's because of bacteria. Now, what I do, I'm not going to do it on this demonstration, but what I do, most of the time I mix buttermilk and vinegar in with the clay as I wash it. And that causes the bacteria to just go wild in there. And the more bacteria, the better the clay is on the wheel, or for any other thing that you want to do with the clay in the way of making ceramics. The more bacteria, the better. And both the buttermilk and the vinegar cause the bacteria to proliferate in the clay on a much more intense scale than it would without adding that stuff in there. Only thing is, it makes the clay, when you mix the buttermilk especially in with the clay, and it has time to go through the ripening process, it makes the clay smell like a hog parlor. So, you throw the ball of clay on the wheel, you might have to turn your head around backwards while that you turn the pot, because the smell is pretty rough. But it works so much better. Now what I'm fixing to do is activate this clay washing machine, otherwise called a slip mixer. And I keep this old bucket over the motor to keep the motor from getting water in it when it rains. And it needs to be washed out because it's got some crash in the bottom. So we will wash the barrel out. I've got a attachment on the wall where I've got my water hoses connected. And this water is coming out of a well right almost under our feet. Actually about 15 feet away from where we're standing under the house. So this down here still working. So what we're gonna do is I'll have to show instead of tell, because some of this stuff can't tell without showing at the same time. And I'm going to close the outlet, the drain. I've got to run get some lubricating oil. I'm going to fill the drum up with water up to about right here. And then I'm going to start this thing up, and I'm going to raise it. Try to make it last as long as possible. Should have some fixed. Hold this hose before I just walk off and leave it, but that's not a good thing to do, because sometimes you forget to come back. And if I done that, then when I come back, water would be running out of this and down through the yard, and the well would be seriously depleted. So before the wind gets over these certain across the yard, I'm going to pick them up. Now what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to start this thing up. Don't panic. Sounds like it's drowning somebody. I took care of that. All right, machine is running. At any point will you be able to bring the camera and let it show down in the barrel so that basically we get play in it. And so I'm going to start adding the clay to the water. So anywhere from 4 to 6 scoops. and mixing it in with the water. It's about as thin as whole milk. And then when you shut it down, you feel the water level on up the top. Now what's happening is the heavy grit's falling to the bottom, and the clay is staying suspended in the water, because clay is super fine and it stays suspended in the water for a fairly good while. But the heavy grit falls to the bottom real quick. The rocks, about finger size, they fall, they don't never get up very high to begin with, but the rest of the grit that's swirling in the water as it's turning in there, as soon as you turn this thing off, the heavy grit falls to the bottom. Now what we want to do is siphon the water off. The water's got the clay suspended in it. So we're going to siphon the water off starting at the top, just putting the end of the hose right down under the water level, so that we won't be getting hardly any sand. This is the real super fine sand, which we want that in there anyway. And we're going to siphon it all the way down, and you do that a couple of times, and then you open the drain on the bottom and you flush all that grit out, wash it out, clean the drum out, and you start over again. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this, the clay has settled down some. I'm going to agitate the clay and get it back up, kind of, and I'm going to prime the hose, kind of like we done down in the bottom of the gully. I'm going to prime the hose real good, and now I'm going to stick it down into the and if it primed, if it took the prime, you see the water level start going down, and it's already going down. So the hose did prime, and now the gravity effect is pulling the water out of the drum. The water that's got the clay suspended in it is pulling the water out of the drum and down the hill. In a minute we'll go down there and see where it's coming out. But as I said, when you shut it down, the heavy grit falls to the bottom real quick. Clay stays suspended in the water up higher. So right now we're siphoning the water off from a level not very deep at all down in here. And so we're getting the clay, and we're getting some of the real super fine sand. And ordinarily we mix a little buttermilk and vinegar in there. I didn't bring any up here, so mix buttermilk and vinegar in there to make the bacteria, to feed the bacteria. See the water running out and where it's going. Someday to do is pull out a large nugget of gold. Because it's not unheard of. You can be sure when I do, I'll rush back down there and start digging again. There you can see some of the small rocks, coarse stuff that you call it sand, but actually it's probably not technically sand. It's And then we'll go down there and we'll see where the clay's coming out in the chicken house. Through a window screen, that's just a regular window screen. And that's catching your trash that's floating in the water that won't fall to the bottom like the grit does. These pieces of small roots and stuff in there that keeps on floating. And so this window screen is catching that kind of stuff. And the clay is running out onto the sheet, and that will let the water soak through, and the sheet will hold the clay. And then it has to lay here for months to get to where that it can be picked up off of the clay in chunks. It kind of cracks open like the ground does when it goes dry. You just pick up the chunks and put them in a wheelbarrow and carry them up in the shop. And then I put them in my clay mixer, which my clay mixer is a commercial unit. I didn't make my clay mixer. You can see the trash that's on top of the screen. Not much, it's not much, but every little bit that you can keep out of it, you know. The clay, then the clay is that much cleaner. In the bottom of the canister you can see how that's what's left in there. That is not clay. That is heavy grit. Heavier than regular sand that you get in bags at just Home Depot or wherever you get it. The clay, or that is what the clay come out of, whichever way you want to say that. The whole purpose is to separate the clay from the grit. And that's what we have just done. The clay went out down there on the sheet in the frame, and the sand stayed in the bottom of the can right here. I'm gonna wash the grit out. And if you want to, whenever I'm doing this, if you want to step right here, coming out where it is. In order for them to understand really exactly what's happening, you need to see everything you can to help understand it. So what's going to be happening is that grit's going to run out right there. Now I'm going to flush the tank, and the grit is going to run out. So I'll just go ahead and chunk it down on there and get started. I've got a problem that makes it hard for me to center a ball of clay. My arm has got a problem where I can't lay it down and brace it like I need to on the side of the frame, because I've got a problem that evidently I have irritated the nerve.